Hello. So today I'm interviewing Annette to mark Endometriosis Week. We thought it was appropriate to actually um, talk a little bit about the condition and really wanted to ask Annette, what was your own personal experience of endometriosis?
Well, this is going back quite a long way. It was around the turn of the century, so quite a long time ago. And things were not quite so developed then. So I can't tell you what stage I had. I think there are different stages ascribed to it now. But it was serious and serious enough eventually for me to undergo full blown surgery. Not even keyhole in that instance. The hospital I was near didn't have access to it. So I had surgery. I had some pretty unpleasant hormone treatments as well to follow it up, and that was my initial experience. I will say that the diagnosis took some time to clarify, but I suppose in a sense it was quicker for me ultimately once they did realise that there was something, simply because I had such a very large cyst that was pretty much visible to me, let alone to anything looking inside.
So, given the treatment that you had, were you able to resolve the condition?
No, no. It worked for a while. I was fine for a while, but then relatively quickly, it was apparent that it was coming back, and I was visiting the doctor again and the specialist, who was lovely. I had a lovely specialist, and I decided to maybe try and do something different.
Right, and what was that?
That's something different. Well, this is what was the catalyst to everything, really, and this is the thing I want to raise awareness about for Endometriosis Awareness Week, because what I ultimately did was to find a much more natural route to healing endometriosis. I had the good fortune to be in this mindset of looking for something when I walked into Waterstones one day and saw a book that said healing endometriosis through nutrition. And I bought it and decided to read it. It was quite a thick book. I decided to read it and took it on board pretty much completely, and changed my diet. Not really clear that changing my diet, because nobody had mentioned this. I'd been in hospital. I'd spent a week there having had surgery and had all sorts of people looking at me and dealing with me. Very, very nice people. Not one of them had ever mentioned food, so I wasn't altogether convinced that anything could happen. But to answer what might be your next question, if you're going to ask it, I did then resolve it to the point of never going back to the doctors. So it really was a case of changing my diet. I changed to much more natural food.
So basically, can you be a little bit more specific? What did you cut out, and what foods did you actually focus on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I suppose I focused on more more vegetables than I was perhaps used to, and I wasn't anti-vegetable by any stretch of the imagination. I cut out dairy. The recommendation is in the book is that you possibly need to consider removing either wheat and or dairy. And dairy was highlighted as being likely if you already suffer from hay fever. And that's turned out to be another bonus for me, because as soon as I did cut out dairy, the hay fever pretty much subsided as well. So that was interesting.
Can I just ask, what
Yeah.
was it about wheat and dairy specifically that led to the advice to eliminate it from your diet?
Well, it's a good question. I can't tell you specifically. There's still a lot not known about this condition. It's part of the reason it takes so long to diagnose it, and also because some of the symptoms are so similar to other things. But it certainly relates to inflammation. That's certainly a key factor. But also there seems to be some kind of trigger in some of these foods for helping the condition to proliferate, and certainly that's been my understanding where dairy is concerned. Possibly due to something like the IGF-1, which is the insulin-like growth factor that's in dairy products. We don't know. That's just a supposition based on some of the other things I've read since. So gluten and dairy. I didn't cut out gluten at the time. I have done more recently for other reasons, but certainly at the time I seemed to be fine. And the adjustments I made a difference. There was one other thing that I was recommended, and that was to eat something raw with every meal. and that set off another thing as well that's ultimately come into our lives in a big way. But at the time, I was doing it in a very, very, very functional way, munching on a carrot in order to tick that box, which wasn't very exciting. But there we go. I did it, and it made a difference and amazed me, completely amazed. I didn't realise food had power, which seems ridiculous now this far on.
Great. So, is there anything else you wanted to add? Were there any other measures you took, or would you say it was?
I did use a natural, a bioidentical progesterone cream for a while. Whether I would do that again now in the same circumstances, I don't know. But at the time, it seemed to make a difference. I'm not recommending it. I'm not saying don't try it, but it was another thing I tried. But actually, that was directly before going towards the food. And other than that, no, this one was primarily food related. And it was a bolt out of the blue to me that it could be so profoundly useful to me. And I hoped as well that it would help with other things that I would go through later in life. And turns out I already have. I'm talking about menopause. And it did. Taking that approach to food also helped there. I didn't have a difficult time particularly. So I can't recommend it enough, simply because even if you do have to go through any medical treatment, then supporting if your body's well supported by the food it's eating, it will cope much better with that treatment as well. So I wholeheartedly recommend ditching the processed food, incorporating more fruits and vegetables, things like beans as well. They've got really useful substances in. And maybe try and find the book. It's by someone called Diane Shepperson Mills. And I think it's called Healing Endometriosis Through Nutrition. Or something similar enough. You would find it on Amazon. It's superb. It's very, very comprehensive. Everything's in there. Case studies. It's all there. It's really superb and very biological. If you need the proof, which I did, I wanted proof. I didn't want to just go on somebody's word. So I thoroughly recommend it.
So great. So hopefully some really good ideas for anyone who wants to try and address the condition through another route, certainly via the conventional route. And thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, bye. Okay.